There's a rumor going around. If you like this video and subscribe, you will be the next vessel for Orochimaru. Hi guys, this is the next part of What if Itachi Uchiha was reincarnated in the world of fairy tale? I hope you enjoy. While our fairy tale members were living the life, and working hard, unknown to them the council was in the midst of discussing the subject of the last major dark guild, Tartaros. After some rambling amongst the council members on the problem for them, which was the fairy tale guild and some of their rampaging job results, and Lahar and Doranbolt aka Mest sighing while listening to these rambling. The council members were only silenced once the current chairman spoke up about Tartaros, and how several guilds affiliated with Tartaros had mysteriously vanished over the past few days, and how other dark guilds formerly under Grimoire Heart and Oracion Cease were being wiped out one by one. But about the ones mysteriously disappearing, theories such as fairy tale somehow being responsible, or that the latest independent guild Crime Sorcier were behind it. One of the elder council members from back in the day even suggested Tartaros may be responsible, trying to raise an army of some sort. The meeting however was brought to an end, when a bright light shined around the entire building, and in a mere second blew up in a massive explosion. The building crumbled, with dead bodies of the council spread around the rubble as well as the guards of the building. In the midst of the rubble, a single figure moved, pushing a piece of rubble off of him was Doranbolt. Lahar, you okay? Doranbolt looked to his side, seeing the body of Lahar. Doranbolt widened his eyes and went to shake Lahar awake, only that he didn't wake up. Doranbolt looked horrified as he stared at Lahar's slightly burnt corpse. Lahar was dead. Damn it, Lahar lost the strength in his arms and fell down. Doranbolt, a gruffy weak voice called out, and Doranbolt looked up to see the injured elder council member who suggested Tartaros was building an army. Sage Org. Doranbolt smiled as at least he wasn't alone. You're safe, Sage Org uttered, although he was then pushed down by a black hand of darkness. No, I need you dead. We were after all 9 members. This new figure had the appearance of a young muscular man. His hair was dark and blonde, reaching down to his shoulders and covering his left eye. He also, to Doranbolt's surprise, had animal-like features such as a pair of jackal-like ears sticking out from the top of his head. He also had a little black nose resembling that of a canine's, and he had a furry tail sticking out from his lower back colored the same as his hair. His teeth resembled that of fangs, and his eye was yellow with a black slit, and surrounding his eye were black spots, and his hands were covered in darkness with black spots spreading out from his wrists. His clothing consisted of a striped dark green top paired with a bandana around his neck covered in yellow spots. He sports a dark blue garb around his waist, secured by a large knot. Who is this? Doranbolt thought as his body trembled at the nauseating energy emitting from this person. Explode, the figure uttered as his hands started to glow while holding onto the council member's head. Don't, was all Doranbolt could manage to say in this situation. Doranbolt, run away, Sage Org ordered. I can't, Doranbolt uttered as his duty was to protect the council. What good is it if you die? Sage Org questioned while sending him a look that ordered him to escape. Nobody can escape, not from my explosions. The figure smirked viciously as the light from his hands intensified. Run, Doranbolt, Sage Org ordered. The figure looked up at Doranbolt and grinned at him, looking like a predator eyeing its prey. My name is Jackal. I'm a member of Tartaros, one of the 9 demon gates. Remember that in hell. Remember the name of the man who slaughtered the entire magic council. Live so you can avenge us. Doranbolt. Sage Org shouted at the whimpering Doranbolt, who closed his eyes and teleported away. Sage Org. Doranbolt screamed as he managed to see Sage Org's head splattering open like a watermelon from the explosion, before he had teleported himself away from the location. Fairy Tale Guildhall. Itachi and the gang returned back from their successful mission, although they didn't have time to celebrate. Natsu instantly went to Levi to see if the guild's local bookworm could find some info about END for him. All they managed to learn was that END was leagues above the likes of Deliora and Lullaby, and that the only demon that exceeds END's power was the demon of extinction, known as E. Itachi on the other hand went straight to Makarov, who looked mortified. Master, Itachi called out, gaining the look of the master, who only gave Itachi a look of pity, and it was directed at Itachi. Is something wrong? Itachi asked, and Makarov led him to a place where they could talk alone. My boy, I don't even know where to start. Makarov sighed and rubbed his temple in frustration. Master, before you continue, I have to tell you something. Itachi then went on to explain everything they learned from Atlas Flame, about END, about E, and about the term demon marks. To which Makarov let out a slight relieved sigh. Well, that shortens a great deal on my burden, but not enough. Let's discuss this in the library instead. Makarov seemed to have discovered something else Itachi hadn't. Naturally, Itachi without any hesitation followed the dwarf master to the library. Unknown to Makarov, however, Itachi had a theory on what else Makarov found. All he needed to do was to hear what the old man had to say to confirm this theory. The theory on what Zirf did to Itachi when he was resurrected. Where are they going? Gray asked Urza as they managed to spot Itachi and Makarov going to the library. Perhaps Oni-san wanted to discuss about our discoveries with the master in private. But why would they pick the library of all places? Urza rubbed her chin while thinking over the possibilities. Who knows? Maybe they are going to look through some books for more answers. Gray shrugged his shoulders. Although he was curious, his mind was too occupied with this mysterious ice devil slayer. Actually, when Juvia went to tell the master about what we found on Galuna Island, the master was in the library looking over books for answers on Itachi's power. Juvia entered the conversation, to which Urza got further curious on the matter. Wait, Galuna? Urza sent a quick look at Gray and Juvia. Well, when we heard the term ancient demons, we decided to check with the people of Galuna, seeing as they were demons. Maybe they could give us some answers. We pretty much heard the story what Atlas Flame told us, although it was mostly focused on those elite demon warriors. Gray explained, to which Urza looked slightly annoyed. And you didn't feel like telling me, because? Urza gave Gray a little threatening glance, to which Gray started sweating a little. Well, I just didn't want to worry you. I know how much he means to you and all. I was going to tell you, but with all these jobs recently I've been kinda busy. Didn't exactly find a good time to bring it up. Gray replied a little nervously as he rubbed the back of his head. Urza let out a small sigh and her expression softened with a smile. So yeah, sorry. Gray blushed slightly. Gray-sama is blushing. Juvia freaked out over Urza being a potential rival, since she had no ways of competing with the might of Urza. I forgive you. Urza smiled and brought Gray in for a hug, but since he was seated it ended with his face slammed into Urza's armored chest plate. I sure don't feel forgiven, Gray uttered with a painful look, but then he was pulled into something softer as Juvia pulled Gray away from Urza's grasp. No fair. Gray-sama is only allowed to do such things with Juvia. Juvia said, holding Gray's blushing face into her breasts. Why, you idiot, let me go. Gray panicked and pushed himself away from Juvia, to which Urza and most of the guild members started to giggle, or laugh at the scene. The laughter all stopped once Jet and Droy rushed in while shouting. Bad news, everyone, they shouted as Jet held a newspaper. And just in time, Itachi and Makarov walk out from the library looking confused at this sudden outburst, and Itachi holding a dusty old history book. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the ruins of the Magic Council, stood three hooded figures watching the rising cloud of black smoke from the ruins. It was the wanted criminal Jalal and his two companions Altair and Meridi. Rumors have it, this is the work of Tartaros, Meridi informed. So, the 9 demon gates are finally making a move, Altair uttered, trying to scan the area with her Sharingan, yet the strain was too much for her. No good, I still need to practice using these eyes more. Altair rubbed her temple from the strain, and Meridi gently patted her back. It would seem we have company, Jalal uttered as in a flash Doranbolt appeared before him. Here to arrest me. Jalal looked emotionless as he stared into Doranbolt, who glared daggers at Jalal. I would, but you must have contacted me for a reason. Tell me, what do you know about Tartaros? Doranbolt grabbed Jalal by the collar, anger flaring in his eyes. Not much, other than what Altair told me. Jalal replied, to which Doranbolt tightened his grip, signifying he wanted to know what it was. I'm sure you have heard the rumors of Tartaros possessing a demon from the Book of Zirf, correct? Jalal asked, to which Doranbolt gave a nod. Well, that information is not completely wrong. Apparently, all the members of Tartaros are demons from the Book of Zirf, with their master being the demon known as END. Doranbolt released Jalal from his grip and started sweating bullets at hearing this information. All of them are demons, Doranbolt uttered, and thought back on the creature that attacked the council. Then he was also. Listen, we aren't your enemy. In fact, we want the same thing. To bring down the dark guilds, starting with Tartaros. We are willing to help, but first, I need to ask you a favor. Jalal said with a serious look, to which Doranbolt raised his brow. What favor? Something that will benefit both of us, but before I continue, I need you to promise to hear me out until the end. Jalal demanded, to which Doranbolt looked uneasy, but with Lahar and the council dead he felt like he didn't really have much of a choice. I promise, Doranbolt said. Thank you, I need you to help me stage a prison breakout, Jalal said, to which Doranbolt blinked his eyes while trying to process what Jalal just requested. When it was finished processed, it looked as if Doranbolt's jaw would hit the ground. Meanwhile, at 8 Island restaurant run by former council member Ujima. The former council member at the moment had help from Freed, Bixlow and Evergreen from the Thunder God tribe at his restaurant, with Laxus out shopping for groceries. Ujima was reading the newspaper with a look of horror, as the news on the council's destruction brought a great deal of shock to him. Not only did all the 9 members of the council die, but a total of 119 people died. But they decided to change the topic and get back to work. By the way, where is Laxus? He hasn't come back from his errand yet, Ujima pointed out as he sent Laxus out quite some time ago. Maybe he got lost, Bixlow snickered. He can defeat an entire army, but can't run an errand. That guy's hopeless. Freed spoke like a wife complaining about her husband. Then they heard the door open, to which everyone assumed it was Laxus. Speak of the devil, Evergreen turned to greet Laxus only to be shocked at seeing a strange hooded figure instead. Rumble. The figure uttered and a massive dark tornado appeared in the restaurant, tearing the building apart and blowing everyone away. Whoosh. The figure then surrounded himself in a dark tornado and flew straight for Ujima. Who is this guy? Ujima stared in shock as he got a good look under the hood, seeing what appeared to be a beast of a man. Ujima-san, Evergreen shouted, and instantly Freed and Bixlow stepped in front of the old man, but were instantly taken down by this stranger's monstrous strength. Boom. The hooded figure uttered, blowing both the young men back. Fairy machine gun. Evergreen shot a barrage of light needles at the hooded figure, who didn't even turn to face the attack and merely uttered. Rumble. And another tornado appeared, negating Evergreen's attack. In an instant they were all on their knees besides Ujima, who stood face to face with the creature. Who are you? Ujima stared down this tall stranger. I have no name. I am one of the 9 demon gates. The human race calls me Calamity, the hooded figure replied, as in the background Freed and Bixlow tried to pick themselves back up. Damn it, what kind of magic was that? Bixlow questioned as he tried to pick himself up, but fell back down. The gates of hell have been opened. Humanity shall be judged. The demon grabbed Ujima by the throat and lifted the tiny old man up, while a whirlwind formed around the demon's arm, ready to tear Ujima apart. The gates of the underworld, Tartaros. Bixlow growled at the demon, and Freed widened his eyes. Don't tell me, their target is not only current council members, but former as well. What are they after? Freed questioned as he stared at the demon. Go to hell, the hooded demon uttered as the whirlwind got closer to Yajima's face, ready to tear him to shreds. Don't, Bixlow shouted at the demon, trying to make him stop. Ujima-san, Evergreen shouted in horror. Then a bolt of lightning struck the demon's arm in the whirlwind, dissolving it and forcing the demon to let Ujima go. Laxus had arrived and glared at the demon. He cracked his knuckles and a bolt of lightning crashed into the demon, who turned to glare at his new opponent, not seeming fazed by that attack. I was unsure about the way back, but I've got no doubts about killing you. Laxus glared at the demon with lightning flickering around him. Laxus-kun, Ujima smiled in relief, thinking that everything would be alright now. Laxus is Makarov's grandson after all. We're saved, Freed uttered with a smirk. What's with this guy? Laxus questioned as he got a good look at his opponent from top to toe, and he didn't even look human. He's with Tartaros. He's targeting Ujima, Evergreen informed Laxus, who narrowed his gaze at the demon at hearing the news. Oh, Laxus hummed, but then suddenly the figure ripped off his coat and Laxus widened his eyes at what he saw. True, he thought the figure didn't look quite right at first, but seeing how he looks like up close still shocked him. He looked like a muscular beast. His hair was long, loose hair reaching below his neck. He had a dark snout like a lion and a beard. He was sark-skinned and had traces of black spots around his arms. This was Tempestor the Immortal, one of the 9 demon gates. Rumble. Tempestor surrounded his lower body with a dark whirlwind and flew straight at Laxus. Laxus infused his body with lightning and avoided each strike from Tempestor, surprising the demon that he was clearly outmatched. Laxus appeared behind him with his fists gathered together above his head. Lightning Dragon. Jaw. Laxus sledgehammered the demon into the ground, creating a massive crater. Everyone looked at the victory's Laxus, who wondered what they would do with Tempester now that the council was gone. Although, then Tempester shook himself awake. Fairy tale, huh, a human with that kind of magic power wasn't part of the plan. All that is left for me is to die. Die, what do you mean? Laxus questioned the demon's logic, who suddenly lit up in a purple light. Tempester's body blew up, and let out a mist of bane particles, aka anti-ethernano. And in less than a second everyone looked to be in agony as the anti-ethernano slowly killed them. I won't let anyone die. I won't let anyone here die, Laxus declared, seeing Bixlo and Evergreen fall unconscious along with Ujima. Laxus, close your mouth. Freed warned and widened his eyes as Laxus started inhaling his breath, absorbing the bane particles and clearing the air around them. Laxus, stop. Getting everyone back to the guild, that is your job. Laxus gave Freed a smirk and then he fell over as he passed out. Laxus. Freed rushed to his friend's side. Later, Fairy Tale Guild Hall. In the medical bay of the Fairy Tale Guild, Makarov had called over Perliuzica the moment Freed walked in the door with an unconscious Laxus, Ujima, Bixlo and Evergreen. Everyone in the guild gathered around the sick ones, wailing around in their bed in agony, with the exception of Laxus, who only flinched here and there. Perliuzica, tell me that you can save them. You have to save them. Makarov desperately pleaded, their guild's medic, feeling concerned not only for his sick guildmates, but also for an old friend, and his very own flesh and blood. They are alive, however, their bodies are currently tainted with the bane particles. Even a small ingested amount is known to be poisonous, possibly fatal. I don't know if they will make a full recovery. The contamination is especially bad in Laxus' body, so much that it's a miracle he's still alive. Perliuzica informed everyone of the condition of their friends, to which everyone was left speechless, with looks of sorrow and regret that they might not be able to help. Itachi especially was left speechless at seeing Laxus and the others in this condition. Itachi also clenched his fists because, despite Laxus' best efforts, over 100 of civilians in the area died from the contamination. Laxus, Itachi uttered as he stood over his friend, twitching in agony from the pain. For information's sake, the pain Laxus is feeling almost rivals the pain you felt from your sickness. Perliuzica cast a glance at Itachi, who didn't respond. Instead he placed his hand on Laxus' chest. Feeling his heart beat, it was beating at an intense rate from the overdose of pain within Laxus' body. Indeed, it seemed as Perliuzica was right, Itachi knew perfectly well the pain Laxus was going through. He remembered the only reason he was able to move or fight in his condition was from pure willpower, with a little medication to help here and there. Laxus, Freed uttered as he weakly opened his eyes, and Makarov walked to his side. Freed, Makarov uttered, gaining the young man's attention. Laxus, saved the town. If it hadn't been for him, the town. I know, and you did well bringing everyone home. Makarov said. The town, did everyone make it? Freed asked with a hopeful look that this all wasn't in vain. Is the town safe? Freed asked, to which Makarov clenched his fists, and everyone else began shaking and twitching. Yes, Makarov couldn't tell Freed the truth as he was now, and decided to ease the young man's heart. Good, then it was worth it. Freed shed a tear as he went back to rest. Gramps, Natsu clenched his fists as he walked towards the door. This is war, Natsu growled and was about to rush out into action. He was however stopped as Itachi firmly grabbed a hold of his shoulder. Don't, Itachi uttered and sent Natsu a look of understanding. We all know what you are thinking, we want the same thing. Although what you are about to do, rushing in without a plan, it won't help. Natsu growled and slapped Itachi's hand away. Then what the hell do we do? Natsu growled. First, we make a plan, and I promise you, once that is done you will get to be one of the ones sent into action. Itachi said, calming Natsu down a little bit. The Dragon Slayer trembled in anger and stormed out of the room, waiting downstairs for when the plan was ready. Most also went out with Natsu to try and think up a plan, leaving Itachi, the Strauss siblings, Kana and Perliuzica left in the room. Kana was about to leave to help with the planning, although she first sent a glance at Laxus. Thinking back on how he acted during the whole Phantom Lord incident, refusing to help them. Kana then smiled a little while looking at Laxus. You sure have come a long way from the asshole you used to be. Kana uttered and stepped out from the room. Make sure to get healthy, she added before leaving. Elfman stood by Evergreen, who kept wailing in agony. He clenched his fists in frustration. I will avenge you. Elfman left with Lizana to join the others downstairs, leaving Itachi and Mira Jane, who both looked at Laxus. Wonder how he is going to feel when he is cured. That Freed told on him, showing that he really does feel for his comrades. Mira had a sad smile. They would cure them regardless. He will probably brush it off with his usual though guy act. Itachi smiled at Mira's comment, and he lightly bumped his fist into Laxus' shoulder. We'll cure you, that's a promise. Rest up, rival, knowing who you are, you will fight through this. Just like I did. Itachi and Mira left, neither of them noticing Laxus' right palm flinching as a response to Itachi's words, and a smile creeped up on Laxus' face. During planning, they managed to figure out Tartaros was targeting former council members now for some reason. And that protecting the former council members will lead them to Tartaros. And thanks to Loke being way too active in the dating world, they got the addresses of 4 former council members. Perliuzica also stated to make sure they get a blood sample of the being who poisoned Laxus and the others, to make an antidote. Now they were all gathered for inspiring words from their master. The enemy is Tartaros. The last of the Balam alliance is Oracion Cease and Grimoire Heart used to be a part of. However, we destroyed both of them. And like them, Tartaros will regret making an enemy out of Fairy Tail. Our comrades have been hurt, their pain is our pain. The blood that flows through their bodies flows through ours. This pain, this suffering, turn it into fighting spirit and avenge them. We don't act out of justice. We act out of will. Take pride in our bond and drive away your family's enemy. Everyone erupted into cheers at their master's words. Natsu, Lucy, Wendy, Happy and Carla formed a group to go after one former council member. So did Elfman and Lizana. Gray and Juvia went to check the 3rd former council member. And Gajiel, Levi and Panther Lily went to check the 4th former council member. Itachi stayed behind with the rest trying to locate the rest of the former council members. During this time, Gray and Juvia were the first to report that their assigned former council member was dead. Gajiel, Levi and Panther Lily reported right after that the one they went to check on was also dead. And when the guild tried to contact Elfman and Lizana, they received no response. And finally, they got a call from Lucy who said that their council member, Michello, was safe, and that Natsu had defeated a member of Tartaros, Jackal. Instantly Makarov asked what they had found out, and Lucy turned to Lacrima to face Michello, who kept uttering about the White Legacy, and something called Face. He also kept uttering how he didn't know anything and he looked traumatized. Face is one of the council's weapons, the old cat man uttered. A weapon? What kind of weapon? Itachi stepped up in front of the Lacrima to hear more detail. The council have many weapons, the way we manage each one is different, based on the level of danger. For example, Etherian, it's a super powerful magic cannon that can target an entire continent. It has the power to decimate a nation in a moment. Firing it requires the permission of the 9 current council members, and activation codes of 10 senior members. Michello explained. Then that means, the remains of the council cannot use Etherian against Tartaros, making it easier to attack the nation. But what kind of weapon is Face? Itachi asked the old cat man on the Lacrima, who flinched and looked conflicted if he should give the information or not. Makarov growled and slammed his hands into the table. I understand that this is a secret. But right now there aren't anyone else for you to rely the information to besides us. Face is an anti-magic pulse bomb. It's a weapon that would destroy all magic over the whole continent. Michello replied while trembling at the thought. All wizards would get magic deficiency disease. Kana said, to which everyone widened their eyes at this grim situation. That's not all. That Jackal of Tartaros said that they don't use magic, but curses. Lucy informed. That means everyone besides Tartaros members would be helpless, Itachi uttered, wondering if this face could affect his chakra like it does magic. What a deplorable weapon your council has created. Makarov's face looked grim. Natsu instantly went over to Michello, grabbing him by the collar. Where is it? We'll destroy it before they can use it, Natsu declared. I don't know, I swear, from what I heard. 3 former council members used body link magic to seal it away, but only the former chairman knows who those 3 are. Michello replied, to which Natsu dropped him. That's why they are killing all the former members of the council, to unseal Face, and since they aren't asking for information, it must mean they already know where Face is located. Itachi analyzed the situation, and Makarov instantly turned to face everyone. Drop everything, locate that former chairman, Makarov ordered. Already taken care of, We'll make sure he is safe. Itachi assured Makarov, who widened his eyes as Itachi vanished in a puff of smoke. A clone, Itachi, make sure you protect that chairman. Makarov uttered. He should be fine, those two are with him after all. Kana smirked. With Itachi, a giant crow flew into the sky, with 3 figures on its back. Itachi, Urza and Mira Jane, on their way to protect the former chairman of the Magic Council. They flew over a forest area that stretched far and wide, then what appeared to be a house grew visible in the distance. Over there, Itachi narrowed his gaze at their goal. The moment they landed, a large old man with a long white beard dressed in robes. Itachi, Mira and Urza went to greet the former chairman. Greetings, we are wizards from Fairy Tail. We are here to protect you. We have evidence that Tartaros is most likely targeting you and the other former council members. The old man kindly greeted them with a smile. I see, come on in, we have much to discuss. May I offer you some tea? The old man led them into his home, although without the chairman noticing, Itachi narrowed his gaze at the chairman before entering. They explained the situation to the former chairman while he poured each of them a cup of tea. I started cultivating herbs after my retirement. This is chamomile that I grew at home. Thank you. Mira thanked the old man while Urza took a sniff of the aroma from the tea. It has a nice scent. Urza hummed. Yes, well, before we have some tea I suggest we get down to business. Itachi said, stopping the girls from drinking, to which the chairman flinched a little. Ah yes, now, I don't mean to be rude to my guests. But how exactly did you find my address? The former chairman, Crawford Theme, asked them. We used our guild-wide intelligence network to track you down. Time was of little essence as we believed Tartaros had also managed to find you, and the rest of the council. Itachi replied, looking emotionless, which made the former chairman look uneasy for some reason. I see, how formidable your network is. I apologize. Urza noticed how Itachi's looks made the chairman look uneasy and decided to apologize for him. Oh, no, ever since my retirement I haven't gotten any used to having guests, so don't worry. The former chairman assured. Crawford, Itachi uttered before drinking some tea, to which Crawford looked a little happy. Itachi widened his eyes a bit after he finished the tea. He quickly regained his composure and stared at the chairman. I would like to ask you a question. Ah yes, about face I assume. No. Itachi interrupted, to which Mira and Urza looked confused, as they believed that is why they came here. Itachi sent a glare at Crawford, activating his Sharingan. Care to explain why the tea is drugged? Itachi's voice became more menacing, and instantly Mira and Urza stood up in shock, and the chairman looked taken aback. What? Crawford uttered. You did well at covering the scent up, I must say. Even with all my experience I wouldn't have noticed it was drugged unless I drank it. Which is why I stopped Urza and Mira from drinking it earlier. I assume I will pass out within the next 5 minutes. Itachi flipped the table to the side, spilling out Mira and Urza's tea. What are you? Crawford looked nervous as he backed away. I had my suspicion, since face is so top secret. How come Tartaros knew where it was? That knowledge should have been reserved for a selective few members of the Magic Council, you and 3 others. Which means, someone must have tipped them off, someone within the council, one of those 4 selective people. And now, we know, that it was you. Itachi glared at the chairman, and instantly Mira and Urza went on guard. Crawford had veins bulging around his forehead. Damn you, you little wizard punk. The mask had come off and the chairman was showing his true colors. I also assume you have security around, specially delivered, from Tartaros. Itachi looked outside as Mira and Urza also detected it. Roughly around 20 men approaching us, Urza said as she entered her purgatory armor, and Mira entered her Satan soul form. Sorry about this, Mira, Urza, seems you will have to carry me later. Itachi said, considering he had been drugged. That is fine, Oni-san. Urza smiled, and then suddenly armored guards charged through the windows. And both Mira and Urza easily pushed them back with a single swipe of their power. Thanks, if it wasn't for you, we would also have been drugged. Mira thanked as they flew out to battle. Itachi followed, but not before restraining the chairman. Urza charged at the Tartaros soldiers with her sword raised, and as she swung it down into the crowd her sword was blocked by a giant sword wrapped up in bandages. Seems the former chairman failed. Well, this suits me much better. The figure snickered and with ease pushed Urza, skidding back. Both Mira and Urza widened their eyes at the new figure in the center of the crowd of soldiers. You are, Urza uttered. No way, Mira uttered, looking equally shocked as Urza, and Itachi just narrowed his Sharingan at the figure and gave a small smirk. So, you finally show yourself, Kisame. Itachi looked at his former fellow Akatsuki member, and former partner. Kisame smirked back at Itachi and raised Samahata to his shoulder. It's been a long time, Itachi-san. I'm ecstatic for our little reunion. Kisame looked true to his word, as he looked truly glad to see Itachi again. Wish I could say the same, Itachi replied as the two stared each other down. You know, we never got to settle the score. In that little match we had before your battle with your brother. How about we settle this now? Kisame held his right arm with the Samahata out to the side, and then coming out from the arm was a sword handle. Kisame grabbed onto the handle and pulled out a massive sword from his body, from what looked like the executioner blade. What? Itachi widened his eyes at seeing Kisame pull a sword out from his body, just like that. Kisame merely snickered at seeing Itachi's reaction. Itachi regained his composure and narrowed his gaze at Kisame. So, this is the ability Zerf gave you, letting you generate the 7 great swords from the mist, from your very body. Well, that, and something else I'm sure you know quite well. Kisame smirked, clearly referring to the demon marks, and to Kisami's surprise Itachi didn't show any reaction. Urza and Mira also looked surprised that Itachi didn't seem to react about that, or even asked Kisame what he knew of that power. I see, well then, let's begin, shall we? Kisame shrugged the thought off. Although something else surprised him, Itachi charged straight at him. Huh, Kisame in confusion barely had time to dodge the attack. Itachi chased after Kisame, throwing a barrage set of punches at Kisame, who blocked the strikes with Samahata. Itachi jumped over the sword and quickly spotted a ball of fire right into Kisami's face, sending him stepping back while rubbing his eyes from the surprise attack. Itachi elbowed Kisame in the gut, making the shark man bend forward while vomiting out a small puddle of blood. Itachi then threw a powerful uppercut strike to Kisami's chin. Itachi jumped up a little to Kisami's eye level and delivered a spin kick to his cheek, sending Kisame falling onto his knees. What in the? Kisame thought, and then leapt up, avoiding a kick from Itachi, who planted his foot into the ground where Kisame once were. Kisame formed a set of hand seals. Water style. 4 shark shower. Kisame gathered the tiny water particles around him, creating 4 giant sharks out of water. The sharks flew right at Itachi, Urza and Mira. Itachi pulled out 4 kunai knives with paper bomb tags attached to them. Just as he was about to throw them, he started feeling dizzy as the effects of the drug was starting to sink in. Kisame raised his brow as he noticed Itachi's slight sluggish movements, and that his aim with the kunai was a little off. If the water sharks were smaller and a little thinner, the kunai knives wouldn't hit them at all. The paper bomb tags exploded, blowing up the water sharks. Mira and Urza were about to back Itachi up by attacking Kisame. Don't. Itachi stopped them as the drops of water from the water sharks turned into tiny sharks. Those are sharp as blades, don't get too close. Itachi warned, and the girls backed up, while Itachi dissolved his body into a murder of crows. Something's not right here, Kisame thought as he swung his Samahata around, clashing with Itachi's kunai knife, and pushing at such force that Itachi was sent flying. He's using the same moves as he did in our last fight. He should know that I will predict his every move this way. Unless he is trying to fool me into a false sense of security. Kisame remained wary of Itachi, who formed a hand seal. Fire style. Fireball. Itachi spitted out a gigantic ball of fire at Kisame, who raised the executioner blade, and cut the fireball in half, right down the middle. Out from the blazing inferno came Itachi, charging right at Kisame. Itachi delivered a spin kick that Kisame managed to dodge by leaning his upper body back a little. Kisame then swung the Samahata right into Itachi's side, who grunted in pain, and was sent rolling on the ground. He didn't block or dodge that. Something's definitely wrong here. Even if his opponent is way weaker than him, Itachi-san isn't the kind of person to just take a hit like that. Regardless of who he is facing, he always remains on guard, and remains wary of whatever his enemy might have up his sleeve. Kisame narrowed his gaze at Itachi, and noticed he had trouble standing. Itachi. Mira rushed to his side, while Urza charged at Kisame with her purgatory armor sword, that Kisame blocked with the executioner's blade. That is quite the sword you got there, Titania. Kisame smirked at Urza, who only glared at him. Her body then let out a bright glow as she re-equipped into her flight armor. Using her twin swords and new improved speed, to attack Kisame from every angle. Yet Kisame predicted every move and blocked every strike. Not bad, but your footing could use some work. Kisame smirked and gave one good swing with Samahata to knock one of Urza's swords out of her hand. And have a tighter grip, Kisame added, and swung the Samahata up, striking Urza in the gut, making her vomit out a puddle of blood. Urza! Mira widened her eyes at seeing Urza on the ground, twitching in pain. Mira glared at Kisame and charged at him, gathering her demonic claws into a cup. Evil explosion. Mira blasted a wave of darkness right into Kisame. Kisame smirked and took the blast head-on. Kisame struggled a little to hold his ground, as his feet dug up the ground beneath him as he was pushed back. Once the wave faded, it revealed Kisame now a few more feet away from them, his coat torn to shreds leaving him shirtless. Mira and Urza widened their eyes, as they saw black fire-shaped marks around the right side of Kisame's body. Those are, Mira uttered. The same marks Oni-san has, Urza uttered. You know, a great thing about this, it doesn't just increase your physical strength drastically, but also your durability. Although I must admit, that attack hurt a bit, I thought I could take it on and come out unscratched. Guess that goes to show, you are a lot stronger than I thought, she-devil. Kisame snickered as the two young women quivered a little at the sensation of Kisame's power. It's like standing before Hades again. Urza clenched her fists and sweated at remembering the feeling of being helpless. Urza forced herself back up, and re-equipped into her Armadura fairy armor. I won't waver in the face of danger, I will stand up and fight, for my friends and family. Urza's body started letting out a red glow that generated from her blades. Ethernano blade. She started generating a green sphere of energy at the tip of her blade, and leapt towards Kisame. Fairy burst. Urza thrusted her sword forward, sending a massive wave of green energy towards Kisame. Kisame stood there, staring at the green wave of energy. He stabbed the executioner blade and Samahata to the ground, reached his hands behind his back. And out from his shoulders came two sword hilts, and he pulled out the twin Kiba swords. The swords surrounded with a powerful surge of lighting. Kisame smirked at the incoming wave and stabbed the twin lighting swords forward, while also sending a surge of darkness from his marks through the sword. Sending a piercing wave of lighting mixed with darkness right through Urza's energy blast. Urza is left standing dumbfounded as her attack dissolved into nothing. She is so shocked that she didn't have time to react to Kisame's hand seal. And three sharks made out of water flew at her and exploded. Arg! Urza was sent flying back, while her armor was torn apart, leaving her in her black shirt and dark blue skirt. Urza rolled onto the ground and landed right in front of Itachi. Urza! Itachi turned to send Kisame a quick glare, and as he was about to charge at Kisame he tripped over as the drugs started to take over. I see, so the chairman drugged you, huh? Kisame reached the conclusion from seeing how sluggish Itachi had moved through the entire fight. Although, something is still not right, why didn't you notice the drug before drinking it? With your Sharingan and high sensing abilities you should have noticed the drug easily. Yet why didn't you? Kisame then walks right up to Itachi, and Itachi manages to get back up and is about to throw a punch. Kisame reaches his hand out as a sphere of water surrounds Itachi's body, trapping him in the water prison jutsu. Itachi seemed to struggle for a while within the water prison, before he fell asleep from the drug, to which Kisame frowned. We will have to settle the score another time I suppose, Itachi-san. Kisame utters although he is still bothered by something. And why didn't you try and escape? You just charged right at me in the end, that is so unlike you. Not to mention, drugged or not, you should have seen this trap come a mile away. What are you planning? Kisame narrowed his gaze at the sleeping form of Itachi within the water prison. Let him go. Mira growls as she is the only one left standing, her body lets out a powerful glow, and her aura intensifies. Satan's soul. Citri. Mira entered, what currently was her strongest form, and glared daggers at Kisame, who smirked. Man, Itachi-san sure knows how to pick him. You are one scary lady, and with that power you are perfect for Itachi as he is now. Kisame said, to which Mira looked just confused. I don't know what you mean by that, and I don't care. Mira charged at super speed and threw a heavy right hook to a stunned Kisame's face. Urza at this point had picked herself up, she was panting and gathered what power she had left. Requip. Nakagami armor. Urza entered her strongest armor and they both charged straight at Kisame while letting out a war cry, to which Kisame chuckled darkly. This will be fun. Kisame had the Kiba swords pulled back into his body, and picked up Samahata and the executioner blade, as the black flame markings grew further around his body. Show me what you two got. The fairy tale Guildhall, an impatient-looking Makarov tapped his fingers at a table, while gazing down upon his sick grandson, Laxus. Makarov was worried for Laxus, Freed, Bixlo, Evergreen and Ujima, worried for his children, worried for Itachi. Warren, have Itachi, Urza and Mira reported back from the chairman? Makarov asked the telepath in the guild, who shook his head. Not yet, master, but I wouldn't worry. If it's those three, I'm sure they can handle anything. Warren assured the worried old Makarov, although he didn't look entirely convinced. I hope you are right, Makarov uttered, and narrowed his gaze while in deep thought. And I hope that hasn't gotten in the way for you and your mission, Itachi. Makarov hummed, while putting his hand on Laxus' forehead, feeling him burning up with a fever. Back at the former chairman's home, the entire area from the fight looked deformed. The ground was torn, flames were burning, black smoke came from craters that were all around the field. And inside of two giant bubbles of water were the bruised up and unconscious Urza and Mira Jane, placed next to the water bobble with the sleeping Itachi. In front of the water prisons was the panting, bruised up form of Kisame, who had black markings all around his body, slowly retracting and fading away. Hey, quite the powerful lady friends you got there, Itachi-san. Kisame uttered with a small chuckle at the sleeping Itachi. Well done, now let's get going. I can't risk anyone else finding out about our little arrangement. Crawford walked clapping out from his home, with 2 Tartaros guards in tow. Whatever, you're lucky Kyoko wants you alive, otherwise I would have fed you to Samahata. Kisame declared, to which his sword twitched and twirled in delight, making the former chairman flinch in fear. Why yes, well, let's go. Crawford made sure to stick close to the guards, and far away from Kisame, who had the water prisons containing the 3 fairy tale wizards following him. Kisame looked at the sleeping form of Itachi, reflecting upon their whole encounter. Itachi acted strange, and not just because of the drug, no, it was like he made it seem the drug was the reason he acted strange. But for what possible reason could Itachi have for doing this? It only lead to him getting captured and dragged to the Tartaros' hideout. Kisame then widened his eyes in realization, and he gained a wide smirk. I see, so that's how it is, Itachi-san. You crafty devil, I knew you were planning something. Don't worry, I won't spoil the surprise for the others. Although I think you know that already. Hey, this is going to be fun. Kisame thought while letting out a small chuckle. Meanwhile, with everything in chaos after the destruction of the Magic Council, 6 dangerous prisoners had escaped from the royal army. Or so it had seemed, when in fact those 6 didn't know even how they got free. The members of the Dark Guild, Oracion Cease, walked through a deserted rock valley. Now that we are out of that foul prison, the Oracion Cease is officially resurrected. Brain declared with a maniacal laugh, as the poison dragon slayer Cobra charged up an attack. Although, I should have expected this, so I did. Brain smirked as his skin turned pale, causing the 5 members of the Oracion Cease to back up in shock. Ever since we got captured, Brain didn't have a chance to restore the seals each of you carried. Meaning, I can roam around free. Brain, or rather Oracion Cease's Master Zero, turned to his guildmates with a wicked smirk. Damn, Cobra growled, not having forgotten how Brain betrayed him during the Nirvana incident, and it seemed neither had the rest of them. Seems you 5 need to be disciplined. Or, I could just go look for stronger members. Zero smirked and charged towards Cobra and the others, although in a flash 4 figures appeared out of thin air, and rays of light blasted right into Zero, knocking him back. What the? Thanks for the assist, Doranbolt, we'll take it from here. The figure was Jalal, who had used Doranbolt to teleport here with Altair and Merity. Jalal, Zero hissed and grew a wide smirk. Doranbolt narrowed his gaze as he thought back on what Jalal said to him earlier. Flashback, a prison break. Are you crazy? Doranbolt grabbed onto Jalal's collar, looking at him like he was insane. Like I said, hear me out. Jalal gently pushed Doranbolt's hands off of him. You desire to put an end to Tartaros, right? We want the same. From what Altair has told me, every member of Tartaros are the demons from the Book of Zirf. I want you to help me get in contact with the Oracion Cease. They might have some knowledge of Tartaros that not even Altair or Merity knows. Then, why don't I just bring you to their cells? Doranbolt asked. I'm certain wanted convicts like me, Altair and Merity, will be welcomed. Although, we would rather avoid that outcome. And before you suggest that we let you interrogate them, we believe your methods to be ineffective. And, I know how to make them talk. we share some history, Jalal replied, to which Doranbold looked conflicted. Although, his mind was so focused on the destruction of Tartaros, that the decision also felt a little easy to him. Flashback end, do what you have to do, Doranbold uttered and vanished using his teleportation. I shall repay my debt, not just to you, but them also, Jalal uttered, feeling somewhat responsible for the 5 young members of the Oración Cease current position, seeing as they were all children trapped within the Tower of Heaven at one point. Jalal. Zero charged towards Jalal, and blasted 2 twirling waves of green destructive energy, that bend in shape charging at Jalal from both sides. Meteor. Jalal's body let out a golden glow and he moved at super speed around Zero, delivering multiple blows and strikes. The members of Oración Cease stood there taken aback at seeing Jalal and Zero duke it out. What do we do now? Racer or rather Sawyer questioned. I don't know, Angel or rather Serrano uttered while taking a few steps back. Master Zero is not a man of love, Jalal is kinder. Richard, formerly known as Hotai, declared and directed his palm at Zero. The ground around Zero twisted, making the master look shocked, and was caught off guard. I have no desire to commit evil deeds anymore, I merely wish to find my younger brother. May the 7 stars bring judgment upon you. Jalal formed 7 magic circles in the shape of a star constellation. Grand Chariot. 7 powerful rays of light struck around Zero, creating a massive explosion. Jalal jumped back from the black cloud of smoke, the smoke got blown away as a dark green wave of destructive energy flew out. Dark Rondo. Zero's clothes were ripped to shreds from the explosion, and as it looked like the wave would go for Jalal, it flew towards the members of the Oración Cease instead. Midnight jumped in front of the attack, and redirected it to the side, causing Zero to growl. Even you betray me, Midnight. Sorry, father, but this is the end for you. Midnight said the word father sarcastically as he glared at Zero. And my name is Macbeth. Poison Dragon. Roar. Cobra spewed out a wave of poison, blasting right towards Zero. Weakling. Zero growled and sent a wave of energy to counter the attack, creating an explosion in midair. Your attack was equal to my own. Hey, you've gotten stronger, Cobra, or would you prefer I used Eric from now on? Zero moved his arms around gathering up energy. I should know what it will say on your tombstones, so do tell, before you die. Genesis 0. I shall annihilate each and every one of you. Here and now. Prepare to face despair. Zero declared as dark energy emitted from his fingertips. Now, perish into darkness. Zero smirked wickedly, although then the darkness cleared away from a bright shining light. Huh, my darkness magic is being blown away. A beam of light, Cobra aka Eric uttered while staring in awe with his comrades. This darkness is nothing, vanish before my heavenly light. Jalal was high up in the air with his left arm pointed downwards and his right arm upwards. My light shines brightly like a star from the heavens, true heavenly body magic. Sema. Zero and the members of Oración Cease stared in awe at seeing the sky darken, with a giant sphere of light forming into the sky. Looking like a fallen star, plummeting towards the gaping Zero. Jalal sent the sphere falling right into Zero at full power, the explosion shined through the entire valley like a sunset. He didn't waste any time, huh? Went full power right off the bat. Altair commented, having formed a protective shell of ice decorated with ice roses around her and Merity. The smoke from the explosion cleared, revealing a beaten and heavily injured Zero. The former 5 members of the Oración Cease were blown back a little from the blast. Eric was the first to manage to pick himself up, and instantly took the opportunity to deliver the finishing move on Zero when he was down, by slamming his scaly poison dragon hand through Zero's heart, killing him instantly. Finally, it's over, Eric uttered, and then widened his eyes seeing a hand reached out towards him. Need a hand? Jalal smiled down on Eric, who narrowed his gaze at the wanted criminal. I know why you are here, I can hear it, you want to free us, help us redeem ourselves. But guess what, we won't let you take away our freedom. Eric declared and stood up to face Jalal, who still kept up a smiling face. If I really wanted to take away your freedom, don't you think you would have heard it? I merely wish to help you reach true freedom. By doing this, you should join our independent guild Crime Sorcier, help us defeat Tartaros, help us defeat the source of darkness, help us defeat Zirf. Redeem yourselves by assisting in taking down the greatest evil, and truly be free to live your lives. Jalal offered, to which 4 of the 5 former Oración Cease members looked shocked, while Richard immediately went to Jalal's side. Will you also help me find my brother? Richard asked Jalal with a hopeful look. Yes, I need to see Wally myself. I have a lot of things I need to redeem myself for, including for the pain I caused your younger brother and others. Jalal replied, to which Richard looked satisfied at the answer. Jalal then looked towards the remaining 4 members. Well, will you let me help you? You could always go back to prison if you refuse, can't exactly have unpredictable people at your level lurking around. The 4 former members of Oración Cease looked amongst themselves searching for answers on what they should do. Elsewhere within the dark deep space of Itachi's mind, our young Uchiha walked through a lake of darkness that only seemed to get deeper, and deeper the more he walked in, like the ocean. For Itachi at this very moment, the concept of time didn't seem to exist. He had no idea on how long he has been here, but he did know why he was here. Itachi didn't show any hint of fear or hesitation. He knew what this lake was, he knew what this darkness was. In a way, he has always known what it was, he was just too afraid to confront it. Even though he knew it was risky to confront it, he also knew it was needed with what he had planned next now that he was captured by Tartaros. He also knew, if he was to master this power, he needed to face it. He was already neck deep in the dark lake, and after one more step he was completely under the darkness. He felt a cold sensation wash over him, a sensation of darkness holding him. It felt as every emotion was killed by this darkness around him. Itachi stood face to face with a massive speck of darkness, with 2 red glowing lights in it shaped like eyes glaring and growling at him like a wild beast. Itachi stood there emotionless as he stared the darkness down. Speak, speak my name, speak of what I am, the creature of darkness uttered in a chilling monotone voice that resembled that of Itachi's very own. Itachi closes his eyes and thinks back on the private conversation he had with Makarov, after he and the others returned from Sun Village. Flashback: Itachi and Makarov were alone in the guild's library. Makarov looks conflicted, his entire being trembling. Makarov stares at Itachi with a guilty look, knowing he promised to tell Itachi what he found regardless. The old master clenches his fists as he holds a book in his hands. Itachi, I think I have discovered what Zirf did to you, I think I know what you are. Makarov swallows down his guilt and looks down, not wanting to look Itachi in the eye. Master, don't worry, after what I heard from Atlas Flame back in Sun Village. I think I already know what I am. Itachi assures the old master, giving him a smile, showing the old dwarf master that it was alright and that he didn't have to feel guilty. When I discovered what the term demon marks meant, and what they were, how Zirf gained such power and gave it to you, I started looking into the demons of the Book of Zirf to see if there was anything else. Makarov uttered while his body trembled even more, his heart aching, not sure how to tell Itachi about this. Master, did you find anything on the demon of extinction? Itachi asks, needing to know if this particular demon was Madara or not. Regardless of who the creature was out of the ones Itachi suspected, he knew this wasn't going to be pleasant regardless. Makarov, with his arms shaking, holds out a very old-looking history book, and gives it to Itachi, who opens the book on a marked page. This book contains a sketch drawing from a survivor of an attack from E. Makarov reveals as Itachi narrows his eyes as he stares at the picture sketch. And Makarov keeps uttering, as you can see, E has the appearance of a mere child. In this sketch he doesn't look older than 4 years old. Makarov utters with tears swelling in his eyes. Itachi, that child looks an awful lot like. Flashback end: Itachi opens his eyes while still standing before the speck of darkness, glaring at him still and growling. Itachi returns the glare at the beats and starts moving his lips and utters a single word. Aetherius. And the very next instant the speck of darkness explodes, covering Itachi's body in darkness. Back in reality, within the old castle that is known as the Tartaros headquarters, a castle on a cube floating in the sky. The ruins of the fairy tale guild hall beneath it, with black smoke coming from an explosion caused by Elfman, who was however stopped by Kana, who saved everyone in the guild. And right now, Fairy Tail was attacking the Tartaros guild to get not only their comrades back, but get revenge for what they did to Laxus and the Thunder God tribe. Even further inside of the Tartaros guild hall, in a room filled with water glass container tanks, with demonic roots growing from them. Inside 2 of these containers were a naked Mira Jane Strauss and a naked Itachi Uchiha, both looking to be unconscious. And fawning over Itachi was Lami of Tartaros, a short black-haired girl with bunny ears sticking out from the top of her head. She was dressed in a white lab coat. Ah, such a good-looking guy. We really picked up a prime specimen. I can't wait for him to wake up and join us. Lami fawned over Itachi while panting heavily. Oi, Are you not done with these two yet? Jackal of Tartaros walked in. His skin was tanned with black spots, he had more fluffier yellow hair, his eyes were the same, yellow with black slits. His jackal ears were also fluffier, same with his tail. No, I still have to add demonic power to them. But this guy. I won't change him one bit. Even I don't dare to mess with perfection. Lami turned back to fawning over Itachi, while Jackal rolled his eyes over how annoying this girl was. But her on the other hand, how dares she being so close to a guy like him? Look at that pretty face. I will turn it into the ugliest face of all time so that even this guy won't pay any attention to her. Lami glared daggers at Mira Jane as she was without a doubt jealous. You should hurry, Mard Gear wants to get on with the face project. Another figure entered the room, it was Sela of Tartaros. Her hair was black and long, out from her head stuck out two golden horns going upwards, her eyes were purple. She was dressed in a leopard-printed kimono, the kimono was a little open revealing her massive chest that rivaled Mira Jane's. This very woman, or rather demon, was the one responsible for making Elfman destroy the Guildhall after capturing Lizana. Yeah, I will start with the girl. Lami chuckled darkly and was about to start the process when suddenly, the room began shaking. Lami had a questioning expression, same with Jackal and Sela as they all started looking around trying to locate the source of the shaking. What is this? Where is it even coming from? Jackal questioned as he felt a massive power source, that increased bit by bit and the pressure around the entire room grew. Eventually this tremor of power reached throughout the entire Tartaros hideout. Sitting on his throne, flinching a little bit at this new power source. What's this? I recognize this power from somewhere. This shadowed figure was Mard Gear, the leader of the Dark Guild Tartaros. In his right arm were two old-looking books, one with the initials, END, and the other one with the initial, E, marked in thick black letters. Back in the glass container room, Sela widened her eyes and turned to the side. It's coming from him. Sela looked at Itachi as the glass container started to crack, and the water started to leak out. Then the glass container shattered to pieces, and Itachi opened his eyes, his Mangekyo Sharingan flaring bright red. Wah, what the? Jackal backed away a bit, same with Lami. Itachi then walked out from the remains of the container, while black mass started to wrap itself around his body. The black markings grew into a dark mass that looked like tentacles, they wrapped around Itachi's lower body making it look like he was wearing pants, and his feet looked like black demonic three-clawed talons. I thought you said you hadn't added any demonic power to them yet. Jackal looked over at Lami who looked just as confused. I didn't. Lami uttered in confusion as they felt the demonic energy coming from Itachi, that foul dark and cold energy that filled the air with the sense of death. The black markings grew on Itachi's upper body, making it look like he was wearing a black open sleeveless coat with a high collar that stuck out to the side. The back of the coat reached down to his ankles and looked torn as it was split in the middle. His arms were also covered in darkness all the way up to his shoulders where it looked like flame patterns at the end of his shoulders. His hands looked like demonic black claws. Out from his forehead grew a pair black horns going upwards. And on the very center of his chest grew a black mark with just the letter, E, with black marks from the coat spreading out towards it. And black lines went from up his neck to his face, and over his eyes. What is this power? It's even higher than Mard Gear's, Sela uttered while her body was shaking. Wait, that mark on his chest, it says, E, don't tell me, Sela utters as her eyes widened at the mark. The hell are you? Jackal snarls at Itachi like a dog, although in less than a second at a blitzing speed. Itachi appeared behind Jackal with his right demonic claw formed into blade of darkness, having cut Jackal across his torso making the demon vomit out a puddle of blood as he fell to the ground. Then from the pure pressure of Itachi's power all the glass containers besides the one with Mira Jane, exploded. And now we can't revive ourselves anymore, Lami uttered her eyes in awe, and her body trembling in fear at this sensation of power. Itachi slowly turns around and approaches the container with Mira Jane. Damn you! Jackal growls as Itachi's blade of darkness lets out a golden glow. Go to hell! Jackal growls as an explosion erupts around Itachi from Jackal's curse. Jackal then snickers at how foolish Itachi was to have touched him, although he then starts sweating and widens his eyes in disbelief. Footsteps were heard from the explosion and Itachi walked out looking unharmed. Impossible, Jackal stutters while Sela only stares in awe. Wait, I can't let you destroy that container. Lami tried to stop Itachi from destroying their last possible chance of revival, although then in an instant Itachi beheads her with his blade of darkness. "You're in my way," Itachi utters coldly with an emotionless stare as he stands in front of the glass container with the naked form of Mira Jane. Itachi widens his eyes at the container as it shatters and Mira Jane's body falls towards him. He gently catches her in an embrace and holds her close. And the end of his coat of darkness spread around Myra's body in a defensive manner, covering the important parts up. Myra's sleeping head laid gently nuzzled up against Itachi's chest. Itachi gently placed his left black claw around the back of her head, and gently strokes her hair. Itachi looks emotionless throughout this whole ordeal, and then he casts a single emotionless glance at Sela. And he then released a massive surge of power around him, making the wind move like a storm throughout the entire room from the brute force of his aura. Yet Sela didn't flinch at that amazing sensation of power. Her legs were shaking but not out of fear. Sela's face grows red. She blushes as she stares at Itachi in awe at his power. She brings her hands up, cupping them around her cheeks, and stares at him with a smile of glee, looking like she had just been reunited with someone she hasn't seen for a very long time. Sela's lips quiver as she seems overjoyed while trying to utter a single word. "Isama," Sela utters while keeping her lustful gaze at Itachi. Itachi remains emotionless at Sela's words, as he merely thinks back on the words Makarov said to him during the end of the flashback earlier. "Itachi, that child looks an awful lot like you when you were a little boy." Makarov's words echo through the young Uchiha's mind. Extinction had arrived. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The next part will be put soon.